Hey there, Juan Morales here, and in today's episode, we're going to go over a concept I like to call the 90% full plate principle. And what this is when you're selling, and you're especially selling to high achievers, movers and shakers, people that are actually getting it done. Well, these people, more often than not, will have an availability of resources, but will not have an availability of time because they're very busy. They're taking care of whatever they need to be taken care of. Now, what happens? Most people, when they want to sell to them, believe the idea of selling based on volume of things that you're going to give them. So you're giving a bunch of stuff, especially if you want to sell high ticket. If you want to sell stuff in the 2,000 plus range, you might be thinking that it's the more stuff that you add on there so you can justify that price point. But that is actually the opposite of what you should be doing. And let me explain why. All these movers and shakers, they're looking for the insight, the most distilled version of the thinking process, so they can take it, run with it, and get results from it. But most of the time, what we want to do, especially if what we're selling is information products, which most of my people are, selling some sort of information, whether it's through coaching, consulting, or digital products. Now, what happens then? Well, we think that we put more stuff on there so it's a higher perceived value so that people will actually buy it. But the truth of the matter is, for the movers and shakers, they're not really looking for volume of stuff. They're looking for the right stuff in the least amount of things possible. And that's why I like to think always of the 90% full plate principle, which is the idea of, hey, their plate is already filled with running their business. They don't want anything that's going to overwhelm their plate. This isn't someone that's running at 10% that you can come in and say, hey, here it is, here's a way to fill your plate up. In the case of movers and shakers, successful people, people that have a running business and are busy on the daily routine, you have to understand that the approach with them is not to give them more, but actually figure out how to gain space back in their plate. You see, if they're running into a 90% full plate issue, the biggest improvement that they can get is to open up more of their time right away. And that is why it's so important to really understand the kind of client that you're approaching and what's really important to them. Many, many times, especially when I have clients that have worked with, I don't want to say unsuccessful clients, but let's say beginner level clients, and they move up to working with higher level people in the marketplace that are more successful, that have done more things, they achieve more. These people are not looking to spend thousands of hours consuming content. These people want that quick 60-minute, 90-minute call, and they feel like they got 6 months of intelligence there. And it doesn't happen unless you realize that to them, it's about taking stuff away from their plate, first of all, because that's their biggest pain point. No matter what they tell you regarding the money that they're making, the profits that they're generating, everything else, the number one pain point, someone who has a 90% full plate, is the 90% full plate. Because when you have such a demand for your time, it really takes you away from everything else that you're supposed to do. And this is why you always want to think, first of all, you want to think like your prospect, you want to think like your client, and you actually want to see the situation they're going through. But more importantly, if it's someone who is successful, whose day is filled up enough without your product, service, or coaching, or whatever you're doing for them, you always want to minimize the amount of time it takes them to achieve something or to get the result. Simultaneously, you want to look at, as a big, big component of whatever it is that you provide for them, you want to look at for what can you take off their plate. You see, once they get to that level where there's so much stuff on their plate, sometimes they'll even reject ideas or new things to do because their plate is full, even though they know they might be missing out on a great opportunity. They just cannot handle it. So the first thing you want to do, especially if you're working with these kinds of clients, and I'm pretty sure that if you're working in a marketplace, you know what I'm talking about, the busy clients, the ones that keep postponing meetings or give you meetings 2-3 weeks out, or whatever the indicators are in your marketplace. But if you're working with movers and shakers, that's why you want to go towards less with them and not towards more. Because everybody else in the marketplace is offering more. Everybody else in the marketplace is offering them a year-long program with a full day every week or every month or however they're delivering it. But what they're not understanding, and what most of the market fails to grasp, is that these people are extremely busy and they want to get the results in the least amount of time possible. And that doesn't mean with the least amount of work possible, but they mean with the least amount of time invested into it, because every second counts to them. But again, you want to look at it from both ends. You want to see how can you make it better, sharper, faster, so that they can get the results faster themselves. Simultaneously, you want to take stuff off their plate. And usually when I'm working with a CEO or anybody who's an executive or an entrepreneur, the first thing I notice is that they are not delegating anything whatsoever. And their effective hourly rate, which is the amount of profit they generate per hour, is dismal. So, how do you change that? Well, the first thing you need to do is you need to ask them to track what they're doing. Because most people don't realize what they're doing. And if you just have a journal with you for a couple of days and you write down what you're doing, you're going to realize right away, if you evaluate it a couple of days after, you go back and you realize, like, okay, these are all the things I did. And you're going to notice that probably 50% of your time, and I would venture to say probably more than that, is spent on lower value activities that are not really moving the needle for your business. But we don't think like that, because that's what we're used to, our routine. That's how we believe we deliver value to our business. But the fact of the matter is, the entrepreneur's credo, the entrepreneur's way, is of always putting himself at the point to deliver the most value, which means that you need to focus on what's most important. You can hire other people, you can outsource, you can delegate, you can automate, you can delete completely certain tasks from your business. But as an entrepreneur, your role is to always be at that zone where you are delivering the most value, the best content, the best service for your clients, because that's what changes the game for them and for your business. That's it for me today. This is Juan Morales signing out. I'll see you on the next one.